Okay, it's the 33rd Health Teaching Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and it's Tuesday, June 9th, 2015, and we're ready to begin with our Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute promotional video in English with subtitles.
Where does humanity go from here? What have we tried to do? What if there is more, much more? The Keshe Foundation is proud to announce a new way to bring humanity forward through technology that brings humanity in line with the natural operation of the planet and universe itself. New science and technology discovered and developed by the nuclear engineer Keshe centers upon the use and control of magnetical gravitational fields. This new body of knowledge opens the road to hundreds of potential applications, which offer solutions to most of the fundamental problems of the world, such as water, food, environmental contamination, and shortages of energy. The Keshe Foundation is proud to unveil the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Nestled amidst the beautiful shores of Bari, Italy, the Institute is poised to become a central hub in the spreading of plasma technology and knowledge. With its state-of-the-art 21st century facilities, the Institute will be able to provide students and staff an immersive way to learn the plasma technology, to be the leaders of the new generation of scientists and plasma engineers. The Keshe Foundation has opened the door to the world for peaceful usage of technology that is independent of the limited resources that are available on Earth. This is an understanding of how everything works together in harmony in our universe, and it applies to everything from the smallest to the biggest, from atoms to galaxies. We all are able to collectively work together in pursuit of knowledge, innovation, and solutions for our society. This learning environment is new to the world, where there will be no test to confirm your understanding. The knowledge of everyone will be respected and allowed to flourish in a nurturing environment. Hands-on testing and experimenting will be widely used in conjunction with roundtable discussions to bring all opinions and knowledge forward. Students will be introduced to a change in the ethos of working in collaboration. Students will experience firsthand how we share knowledge in a free and open manner. Graduating students are expected to share the knowledge they gain from the university within their respective communities and nations. All formal teachings, lectures, and presentations will be in the English language, with technology available for immediate translation. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be offering 3-year executive master programs for undergraduate degree students and 1-year executive master programs for graduate degree students in the following fields: space transportation, new plasma technology, health, agriculture, materials, energy. The health section is designed to make students able to live in space without the need to return to Earth. To this end, the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute has found processes for many diseases including ALS, cancer, coma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will offer online teaching courses which will enable anyone, anywhere around the world to enroll and increase their knowledge and understanding. Students will have the opportunity to direct their work towards commercial spin-offs and seek funding through the help of the Keshe Foundation. The access to the new science and new technologies is openly available for peaceful use to the benefit of mankind to make a better world today. Now you can be part of the changing world and the new knowledge. All commercial spin-offs are intended to be open source and patent-free. This is part of the core ethos of the Keshe Foundation and the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will have its official inauguration on April 21st, 2015, with courses commencing soon after on May 4th, 2015. The students of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be the leaders of the future who will make changes in all areas of space technology, science, medicine, agriculture, and energy. Anyone is able to apply, but acceptance is through invitation only. No prerequisites are required. We will be accepting approximately 250 students for the 3-year Executive Master's Program and 120 students for the 1-year Executive Master's Program. We welcome humanities participation in the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Where does humanity go from here? That is up to you. Apply today.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Now we can enter into the 33rd Health Teaching Workshop. I see there's Mr. Keshe is just getting ready. Has his Leonardo da Vinci tie on today. And we have a couple of Wikipedia screens ready to go when you're ready there, Mr. Keshe. Would you like to go ahead there now?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to the afternoon health workshop, which we hold every week. We are quite a bit late due to technical reasons, but at least we are back here. Somehow it's become tradition to have problem with the health section. Every week, most of the weeks, somehow something goes wrong. Maybe because we are not very healthy people. So we start. Exactly. I think we're a bunch of old people pretending to be young. And the system is trying to tell us, no way. Today's teaching or discussions or workshop is that we spoke about the body, we tried to speak in general in other matters. From now on, we try to concentrate on conditions per condition. And today's condition or the structure is what I've received a lot of emails, and in the past few weeks it's got worse. In the past few days, I've seen a number of emails which is sent to me asking a member of a family has this problem, or a member of the family has been with this problem for a long time, or a friend, can we help? The teaching of today is about the schizophrenic and the same kind of condition as what we call nymphomania. There is no difference between the two. It's the same disease, but different structure of the body. Is it a disease? No. I call people with schizophrenic what we call with the schizophrenic in public, or what we call with nymphomaniac, as the nice people. Why? The reason for it is I have a deep understanding and well educated in this field, extremely specialized in understanding how this condition works. The reason for one of it is that in a space, these kind of what I call life is a normal life. Man has mutated to be, but we have a problem as people not to see. Let me explain what does this mean. First of all, let's ask Rick. Rick, can you put up what Wikipedia says nymphomaniac or what we call a schizophrenic means? What is the common present science? Consider that. Can you read it for us, please?
Okay, I've got schizophrenia up first here.
We need it to be enlarged a little bit because it's all blurred, or I'm getting too old to read.
Okay, I'll try to make it bigger.
Yes. Okay, can you read it for us, please?
Okay. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder often characterized by abnormal social behavior and failure to recognize what is real. Common symptoms include false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, auditory hallucinations, reduced social engagement and emotional expression, and lack of motivation. Diagnosis is based on observed behavior and the person's reported experiences. Genetics and early environment, as well as psychological and social processes, appear to be important contributory factors. Some recreational and prescription drugs appear to cause or worsen symptoms. The many possible combinations of symptoms have triggered debate about whether the diagnosis represents a single disorder or a number of separate syndromes. Despite the origin of the term from Greek schizein, meaning to split, and phren, to meaning mind, schizophrenia does not imply a split personality or multiple personality disorder, a condition with which it is often confused in public perception. Rather, the term means a splitting of mental functions, reflecting the presentation of the illness. The mainstay of treatment is antipsychotic medication, which primarily suppresses dopamine receptor activity. Counseling, job training, and social rehabilitation are also important in treatment. In more serious cases where there is risk to self or others, involuntary hospitalization may be necessary, although hospital stays are now shorter and less frequent than they once were. Symptoms begin typically in young adulthood, and about 0.3 to 0.7% of people are affected during their lifetime. The disorder is thought to mainly affect the ability to think, but it is also usually contributes to chronic problems with behavior and emotion. People with schizophrenia are likely to have additional conditions, including major depression and anxiety disorders. The lifetime occurrence of substance use disorder is almost 50%. Social problems such as long-term unemployment, poverty, and homelessness are common. The average life expectancy of people with the disorder is 10 to 25 years less than the average life expectancy. This is the result of increased physical health problems and a higher suicide rate, about 5%. In 2013, an estimated 16,000 people died from behavior related to or caused by schizophrenia.
Can you read about nymphomania, if you got it back there, please?
Okay, get that lined up. Now, when I go to nymphomaniac in Wikipedia, it refers to what's called hypersexuality. It redirects to hypersex from nymphomaniac. So hypersexuality is a clinical diagnosis used by mental health care researchers and providers to describe extremely frequent or suddenly increased sexual urges or sexual activity.
Can you enlarge the screen? We don't see it.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, in the overview, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines hypersexual as, quote, exhibiting unusual or excessive concern with or indulgence in a sexual activity, unquote. Sexologists have been using the term hypersexuality since the late 1800s, when Krafft-Ebing described several cases of extreme sexual behaviors in his seminal 1886 book, Psychopathia Sexualis. The author used the term hypersexuality to describe conditions that would now be termed premature ejaculation. Hypersexuality may be a primary condition or the symptom of another medical disease or condition, for example, Kluver-Bucy syndrome or bipolar disorder. Hypersexuality may also present as a side effect of medication, such as drugs used to treat Parkinson's disease. Clinicians have yet to reach a consensus over how best to describe hypersexuality as a primary condition, or to determine the appropriateness of describing such such behaviors and impulses as a separate pathology. Some authors have questioned whether it makes sense to discuss hypersexuality at all, arguing that labeling sexual urges extreme merely stigmatizes people who do not conform to the norms of their culture or peer group. Hypersexual behaviors are viewed variously by clinicians and therapists as an addiction, a type of obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, or OCD spectrum disorder, or a disorder of impulsivity. A number of authors do not acknowledge such a pathology.
Can you go to the symptoms, please?
Okay. As a symptom, hypersexuality is known to present itself as a symptom in connection to a number of mental and neurological disorders. Some people with borderline personality disorder, sometimes referred to as BPD, can be markedly impulsive, seductive, and extremely sexual. Sexual promiscuity, sexual obsessions, and hypersexuality are very common symptoms for both men and women with BPD. On occasion, for some, there can be paraphilic drives such as voyeurism, necrophilia, sadomasochism, urolanglia, and other more extreme forms of paraphilic drives and desires. Borderline patients, due to the opinion of some to the use of splitting, experience love and sexuality in perverse and violent qualities which they cannot integrate with the tender, intimate side of relationships. People who suffer from bipolar disorder may often display tremendous swings in sex drive depending on their mood, as defined in the DSM-4-TR. Hypersexuality can be a symptom of hypomania or mania in bipolar disorder or schizoaffective disorder. Pick's disease causes damage to the temporal frontal lobe of the brain. People suffering from Pick's disease show a range of socially inappropriate behaviors. Several neurological conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, autism, various types of brain injury, Kluver-Bucy syndrome, Klein-Levin syndrome.
I think you read enough. Let's go back to the beginning of schizophrenia. Thank you very much, Rick. If you can keep those next to each other on the screen, that'll be nice. When we need it, we can copy it up.
Okay.
You call it schizophrenic. You call it nymphomaniac. Let's see other type of birth. This is not a disorder. This is the way you're born. You're born as a single child. You're born as a twin or triplets or whatever. You're born as Siamese twins. You're born as individual in a group. What does this mean? We accepted a single child. We are born, we are on our own. We accept we have twins. We have a brother twin, sister twin, 3 or 4 people. We have Siamese twin, which is, in reality, we have 2 physicality, and sometimes we share parts, and we call them Siamese twin. One thing we never understood, because we don't see the physical separation, because we see the twins, is what you call the schizophrenic. It's another type of birth, but in physicality is one person, but instead of having two separate brains, they share one brain in operation. So what it is another way of being born. But we are never aware of it, never been aware of it. So the people who call schizophrenic a disease is the ignorance of the man. They are the same as twins or triplets. There could be 3, 4, or 5 people sharing the emotional part of the body, not the physical part as well. So what it means, the emotional part has division and physical part listen to all the divisions. But in turn, each one has its time. So the schizophrenic, the same as nympho. Nympho is another name for the schizophrenic when we see it in a female behavior. So you have twins, one likes Coke, one likes coffee, the other one likes water or whatever. We see them separate. We don't ask how come he drinks water, you like water too, because they are two different bodies. One likes to ask for a coffee and one asks for a decaf. We never ask because we see two people asking. In the case of a schizophrenic, is the same situation. Two people in one body. At the time of birth, genetically, the separation did not happen. If it would have happened, maybe it would have been a twin, Siamese twin, or would have been separate twins. But due to evolution of time, it has become part of our existence. Any of us could have been born as a schizophrenic, or what are called the nice people. Because sometime down the line of evolution of man, we became isolated, single person. We had nothing and nobody to talk to. You are left in a jungle for decades. What do? You need to speak to someone. So what our body has done has started developing another partner, that we are not alone. We see people make a statue talking to it. They build a Madonna and they worship it because there is somebody to talk to. If you've been in a nervous condition yourself, you find out you start talking to yourself because you can express, but you can talk back to yourself for the solution too. If man was isolated as a tribe for a long time, single man, this is going to happen to a lot of you in a space. The schizophrenic will be so common in a space when you're the last man standing in a UFO or what you call in a spaceship. You have nobody to talk to. You are in space for a long time. What am I going to do? I cannot create another being to talk to. I talk to myself, and then you start creating the division in the emotional part of the body. And this is what's happened. We've done this to ourselves. Over evolution of time, we had the last man standing, but the last man needed to talk to someone, needed to have a partner, needed to have a companion. And then in time, when he established a full design of himself and became part of his desire to have a partner, he created the brain in two halves. And because it lasted most probably over 25 years, it became part of RNAs. If a deformation stays with you more than 25 years, it becomes permanently registered on your RNA. Through DNA, you see it. So what happened is the schizophrenic is not a disease. It's a disease for the people who are outside. They don't understand the reality and the fact. And what happened, the schizophrenic is a kind and is a type of birth. But because we don't see two people, we made the wrong judgment that they are sick. there is something wrong with them. They talk to each other. They talk. Have you ever seen the schizophrenic? They go, ah. And then the other one answers. They're two people. How come you don't say two twins are crazy if they're talking to each other? And they laugh. It's one body sharing the same physicality. The only problem with the schizophrenic is your body, the separation of emotional and physicality is established in the womb of the mother. Not outside, not before. And all the rubbish we've seen on the board, which you just read. Through depression, through blah, blah, it comes to a point in the life of the child that the child has, you see John. He's born, you know him as John. Okay? Call him Frank. Call him Lucy. Call him whatever name you like. This is the one you've seen, you gave birth to. But what happens? The two coincide, the two coexist. In childhood, go back to what we discussed earlier on today about FMS and clinical fatigue. It comes before age of 14 and after age of 14. Up to the age of 14, before puberty, what we call boys mainly, or girls at the age of 9, is no problem. John is in full control because the other one follows. You've seen the children, before they understand before age of 10, they are not aware of hierarchy. If you see children, they are not aware of race and color. They don't go and say you're Chinese or whatever. To them, everybody is the same. You look at a 9, 10-year-old child, comes to you, to an adult, and speaks to you from one adult to another, because to him, there is no class division. There is no ranking division. That's why we love children. They go from one person to another and they talk to everybody, because they are not aware of separation. Who's white, who's black, who's whatever they are. When it comes to the puberty, it's the time when we start making a decision. Who I want. Up to now, mom chose we go to so-and-so. I'm not coming anymore because I want to make a decision. This is me. From now on, I go what I do. On Saturdays, I go to a football match or I play games or whatever. The same thing happens here. At the age of puberty, both exist. One has always followed the other one. But when it comes to puberty and it comes to the growth of sexuality, I'm not listening to you. My name is Jack. And you like blonde, blue eyes. I like black and dark brown eyes. Now, then they say the conflict is stopped. At the beginning, for the person to understand this, even for themselves, is horrendously fearful, because they are aware of the other part, but they are not aware of its activities, because it's always followed. They know it's there. When you speak to schizophrenic, which you appreciate them, they always tell you they've always been aware of the partner. All of them, without fail. But up to now, one followed the other. Just like a sheep. No problem. Sometimes, in the age of 8 to 10, you see some disorders, but you just put it out there, it's a child is growing up. But in fact, during the life, you already have seen Jack. But you're aware of it because it's the same body. When it comes to John, John likes to go out tonight for a party. Jack now is dictating his position. I'm not going for it, but I want to stay home. So you see them trying to convince each other. What happened? Now, most of these people are highly active social people. Very active. Now, how am I going to tell to other people I have somebody else with me? How come the people are looking at me and smiling and saying, are you crazy you're smiling? But at that time when they tell you you're crazy you're smiling, you're already telling a joke to him, or he's telling you, watch the guy's leg. It's very amazing when you speak to the schizophrenic people. You see, you're talking to John, say, John, and you see suddenly a smile. What's happening, Jack? Just look at, you're talking to you here. Because John's focus is here. Jack's focus is there. He says, have a look at there on the table. They're playing games under the footy. And then you look, it's happening. Because each one has his own orientation of a look. Each one hears different things. Because they tune themselves. They decided, this is my bandwidth, this is your bandwidth, this is what I see, this is what you see. You see, usually in the color of the eye. It changes. The shape of the eye changes. They look different. The one, which is Jack, you find always more aggressive. Jack, the second one, is always more aggressive. People who have a third one, the last one which comes out is more aggressive. It's like a house, the youngest child trying to assert his position. You find out in a house, there's always peace and loveliness with the first child. Second child muscles through, trying to get attention. The third child is always disturbing because he feels the other ones have taken his share. So he needs what they've taken 4 years earlier, even though I'm 4 years younger. So what happened? You see Jack trying to say, I'm here too. I exist. This is me. And what we say, we don't accept. How come you've been drinking cocoa all the time and now suddenly you like water? Because up to now, you met John. Now Jack wants to, as we say, make his own market. John goes out, Jack doesn't agree. Jack goes out, John doesn't agree. You find out a lot of schizophrenic, which have open acceptance by the family, we have to keep him in, have 2 girlfriends, 2 relationships. And you say, how come? He has a mistress, he has somebody else. He's already going out with somebody and is with somebody else. But how come he goes out with the blonde and the other one goes, and then he goes out with the black one? He's had that, he's not happy. No, because Jack goes out with the blondie, John goes with the black, but they don't see the difference. I used to know twins because I had to follow some of the direction. And they used to try to see if the girls can recognize which twin they're going out with. And a lot of twins, very similar twins, do this to see if the boyfriend or the girlfriend realizes which one they're going out with. It's very common for the twins. It's a challenge to them, especially the ones very similar. Now you have a body, which is one body with 2 people in it. Now he goes out with the blonde, the Jack. Okay, I like black, dark hair, short. I tolerate it because the body is yours at the moment. I'm not doing anything. Strange enough, sometimes they peep out to see if the blonde one is the one they like too. Very strange. But what happens when it comes to Jack time, John has to stand by. But don't forget, John has made more contact with the physicality. So he has more control and understanding of the work of the physicality. John says, no way you're going to use this. I don't like it. I control the body. I take it. But the problem doesn't sit there. The problem with the schizophrenic, what I call the nice people, sits with the parents. Because the mother only knows this and only knows John. The mother is not aware of the body with Jack. But Jack has been all the time with. What does he do? He wants to say to Mom, I exist too. I deserve love. I want to get attention. But Mom only knows John. This is where the problem starts. This is where the aggression and the depression of the schizophrenic comes. Read whatever they tell you the schizophrenic show. John wants to exist as much as Jack. John is suppressing Jack because this is not ready, this is not correct. be somebody else with me, something wrong. So what does happen? Jack, for the age of 17, 18, enjoying life, he wants a presentation. He wants a confirmation of existence from the parents, from the mother, from the father. No way. We cannot have, we always had John, that body. It cannot be somebody else in there. They go to the mother and say, do you love me, Mom? And the mom says, yes. But it's not John, it's the Jack who's asking for a confirmation. And then you find out if Mom says, I don't like it when you behave like this, because now John is behaving, John gets blamed. Jack blames, does the job, John gets blamed. But the John is still looking for confirmation of love. I exist too. I exist too. When you ignore a child, it don't exist. What does it do? Kick tables, kick chairs, does all sorts of things. So what does a schizophrenic do? You call it. I call it what Jack does. Jack sees so much rejection from the parents. What does it do? You don't accept me. I do what I like. Have you seen the children who are angry? They kick, they bash the mother, the father, everything else. Now John comes, no problem to see Mom. But Jack comes, you don't love me, Mom. I'm going to show you who I am because I exist too. A knife, murdering the mother, stabbing the mother. I don't exist, you don't exist. At that moment is Jack, which is in control, and not John. Then John, which gets most of the control of the physicality, comes to the scene. What have you done? Why did you do this to mother? I cannot take it because everybody sees me. I'm blamed for it. What do? They commit suicide because they cannot take the blame. We put them into prison. We give them things. But only thing the society has to do is to say, we diagnose you as schizophrenic. We want you to do one thing. We want the name of you and the name of you. You're John and you're Jack. Okay, now we talk. It's the shame of the parents which brings the criminality and anger. If the parents are taught from the minute that you think there's a condition, you ask the child for who am I talking to? Am I talking to who? They tell you the name because they've already chosen the name. In Western society, it's very easy. Because in Western society, children carry two names. And you find out one chooses one and the other one chooses another one. You ask them, who are you? He says, John. You ask them, who's there? He says, it's Jack. Why the same body answers to two? It's the third indication. If you have a twin children, or you have a schizophrenic child, what do you call it? Just ask them one question. Then it sets the scene for you. Today, he's angry, you're doing, what are you doing? Who's doing this? I'm John, doing it. See, the next time he's playing games or whatever, why are you doing this? Who's doing this? I'm Jack. Now, why do a person uses two names? In Western society, it's much easier to isolate and find out exactly you have a twin. You have a beautiful twin. If you sit down and not be proud to see it as a shame, you have two children. You shop for two. I'm going out today with Jack because he likes to see, cartoon. I go with Jack to golf because Jack likes to golf. But each one of you take your time. All the laughing, all the smiling, we are together. You are very happy. You know, till very recently, even in part of the world, even today, if people have a handicapped children, they never take it out of the house because they're ashamed of a handicap. They see it as a judgment of God. They've done something wrong in the other life. They have to pay for it today. This is not so. It's just what happens in the of creation. So people they call it schizophrenic, because they never understood they have 2 or 3 children in one body, they're ashamed to take it out. They're ashamed to be. I'm not. I have a child, okay, he's a schizophrenic. No, he is 2 people, Jack and John. Make sure you understand who you're talking to. It's our own lack of understanding which has caused this condition. And strange enough, Jack, when you talk to him, when you speak to him, he tells you everything about, let's say, the economy. He has no clue about the sport. John, opposite, knows nothing about economy. He knows very well about physics, and he has no interest in the sport. So what happened? You get geniuses. You get multi-talented people in one person. Because when you want economy, you speak to him. When you want physics, you speak to him. And sometimes they collaborate, and then they can give you a very good answer. What is going to be the outcome of new physics, new science, new economy of it? And they are correct because he's a specialized, he's a specialized. He gets specialized in football. He gets specialized in rugby, in tennis. So you get geniuses because they have collection of knowledges. You give them a newspaper. I always say that. And watch. If you understand them, if you can separate them, you give them a 1 page of newspaper, sit back. You come back, and you ask a question about the economy. You had John with you. He tells you everything on that page which is to do with economy. You ask John about physics, what is written. He tells you. But say, John, can you tell me about the economy? I haven't seen anything. It's not there. There is nothing there. The same page. Because each one has changed focus. They read so fast, they share, that simultaneously they read 2 articles. Look at their eyes. The condition of eye is always telling their behavior. So what happens? You have this. In their sexual behavior, they even choose different color of underwear when they go out with the girls. You find Jack always wear red, John always wear blue. Then you say, John is going out tonight. A lot of hospitals who hold what are called the nice people as a schizophrenic, they come to understand all the medication given to them. That's why it doesn't work. How can I give you medication psychologically when there is nothing wrong with you? There is nothing wrong. It's just too much information continuously deciphered by 2 people. We have people with 3. One of them is Susie. You say, this is impossible. Now, Susie goes out. She wants to be using the body, and she wants to go as a girl. What does she do? She wears up now look the problem. He was a boy, now he's become transvestite. Because Susie is going out tonight. I've seen many of them. Many of them. But you find out Susie have homosexuality behavior because he's a man by the physicality of the body. Say, now he's become homosexual. No, because it's Susie who's gone out tonight. Half of the problem of what we call the schizophrenic, 99% of the problem of what you call the schizophrenic is you and not them. And the sooner the society understands this, the sooner we solve this problem out of the society. There will be no 16,000 people committing suicide. Every suicide a child with a schizophrenic does is the responsibility of parents ignoring their own lack of understanding. Not the I've seen so many of them committing suicide because nobody understands the reality of the totality. People write to me, can you help me with the schizophrenic? I can't help you. You have to tell people this is the condition. This is what I like, this is what John likes. It's partially the schizophrenic have to educate the ignorant people. Because it's not a disease, it's not a disorder, it's a way of birth. If he is something wrong with him, single body is so as much as every single child is a schizophrenic. Every single child is something wrong with the birth. There should be no singles anymore. Unless you're born twin, there is something wrong with you. Even in twins, we get one, which is a schizophrenic. It's not very rare. Because one of the twins carries triple. The third one decides to stay inside the body. It happens genetically. You cannot help it. But if happens that all these become Mary, Christian, and Susie. Now you have 3 girls in the same body. Highly, very interesting. Usually very slim. Highly active. Usually tall. Usually, present condition, highly intellectual. Highly intellectual. Because don't forget, one reads physics, one does medicine, one does something else. The only difference between the schizophrenic behavior and nymphomaniac is gap, time lapse. The schizophrenic, they talk to each other very easy. The nympho are born as a total separate body in one body. So the texture of the body changes. You sleep with Susie, you sleep, let's say, with the softest skin. You sleep, sorry, with Mary. You sleep with the Christian, you sleep with the rough body with different behavior. You sleep with this one, is totally abnormal behavior. Because each one is identifying his own physicality. You can physically, through MRI, confirm nymphomaniacs in women, which is harder in schizophrenic in men. Because the body totally is built to satisfy different taste, different understanding. So what happens? Mary goes out tonight, have a good time, a boyfriend, no problem. But these two are aware of the action too, but not in a physical direction. So now, tonight, Christian is in charge of the body. Or in the afternoon, Christian takes over. She likes to have fun too. And then at night, Susie goes out. So one body having fun 3 times a day. You call it a nympho. This is 3 people living. Do you call the twins nympho, which they go out with different girls every night? The texture, their life is totally different. Why? They become highly educated? Because the same way they read. And you find out majority of the nymphos are highly interested in one topic, medicine, herbal, condition of what you call alternative medicine. Because they are aware of the condition, they wake up, they find themselves going to bed as a Mary, waking up as Susie, and this is something wrong. I didn't make love. But how am I naked? Where am I? Where am I? But I have to pack up myself and go. What they do, they have a slip gap. What the slip gap means, handover time. I need time to collect myself, to change myself from Mary to Christian. You find out people with nymphomaniac go through a phase. You're sitting with them, talking with them. They look, they go, and they come back. The look before the look is Mary. The look after the look is Christine. And they look, and they come back again. They are Susie. The strange thing is, because they're aware of the condition, but each one carries his own part of brain, you say to Susie, you discuss with Susie everything to do with this ball. Now, in the afternoon, you're dealing with Christian. She wasn't there when the ball discussed. What do you say? They get Alzheimer's. They don't get Alzheimer's because, in fact, if you go back to Susie and speak the ball, she tells you everything you discussed. But if you go back to any of the other two, they have no clue because they were not there. It wasn't their discussion. They go to sleep. They take time off. And this is what has not understood. Why did we go through this cycle? Why have we gone through this position? These have come out of the environment which we lived in. In the past, when you separated, you're only single man. You want a wife. You want children that you can allow it to survive. Not only you discuss, this is what is your biggest problem in space, the last man standing. What do? You only talk. You want to have, you had the pleasure of a woman. You want to have a woman. You can convert Jack to behave like a woman because now you have a woman talking with a man. And then, if the desire, as we've seen with ILS, is strong enough, we can have what you call a virgin birth because the body mutates to allow the birth. It's very simple. It's exactly what you call a virgin birth. You can give birth in the condition you create because the instinct of survival exists inside. This will be repeated in the space a number of times. This is with us already. We don't understand it. Until we don't understand this, we should have a huge problem. Because unknowingly, a large numbers, as you've seen, 0.3% of the population, you get on board, are this, and are with you. What are you going to do? You're going to have a mayhem on board because you have 3 people in one body with 20 men and 19 wives. And she boarded as one of the wives. And this likes different person, this likes person. Do you want a riot? Because Mary is not satisfied with what Chris, another one likes. Chris, what do you call it? Unwanted sexual activities. These are your biggest problems in the space. You thought you got the energy running, you got your space running. Now you face the physicality of the reality, which you have ignored up to now. So, when people speak to you about schizophrenic or nympho, ask them one question. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? They tell you, Jack. And they always come the one who's in control first. Or Mary, or Christian, or and then when you don't see the same behavior, say, who am I speaking to now? It's John. Actually, the Western society, Western civilization has made the life of a schizophrenic very easy for them because they can choose a name. Where in the other part of the world, they carry a single name, you have a problem. And then you find out, if you can utilize them correctly, you have geniuses on your hand, they can do everything. There is a say at the moment, one of the top schizophrenic people has about 9 characters. He's in his 90s, and they say he's been advisor to 6 American presidents. Because, and strange enough, one of his characters is supposed to be homosexual. But he's the best economist, because this is one company all gathered in one body. One reads economy, one reads health, one reads medicine, one reads something else. And so when you want advice, collectively the information is there. It's amazing how collectively they use the central information bank. They have a central, they use the part of brain memory, all of them at the same time. You find out, for example, they all smoke. Most of the schizophrenic, especially nymphos, because it's the time when they can find separation of peace to adjust into the new condition. All of them have, without fail, stepgap. You cannot call Mary without a break to come to school. Where the schizophrenic condition can talk because they have connected internally. If you bring these on the table, and somebody who understood this condition very well was the team, I've said this before, which worked with Hitler. The people who are trying to make the superior race, they studied this very well. And it's heavily used in security services in the Eastern Bloc. Heavily used. Especially the nymphos. They're extensively used. Because they don't remember about the activity of this one. So they train one to speak to one, they train it, and the other ones follow. And they are never aware of each other. But if you come to understand, they have a clicking time. If you find a clicking time, you click it, they're there. Schizophrenic, unpredictable. Security service is always afraid of. Because they talk. Because they got used to talking to each other. They have totally different body structure. Because the separation sits with sharing of the body and just being aware. I keep everything mind to mind. Where with that condition, everything is available to everybody, but we know each other's stuff. So when you write to me, can you help me with my schizophrenic? I give you help. Tell people, be strong enough to tell your parents, your father, your mother, whoever, your partner, that I have two. This is me and this is me. You want to live with me? This is what I am. Parents never reject you. Parents love you more because now you have solved a crisis for them. You don't need to go to a doctor because today we go out to say, Jack, we're going out. Pardon? Yeah. Pardon? I don't know him. Mathematician. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But when you look at the schizophrenics, they are highly intelligent because they have different. You're dealing. The intelligence comes of number of people which are in the same body. To you is intelligent. How come they know so much? Because each one does one thing. As I said, a lot of them look into alternative medicine, trying to find a solution for the behavior they don't understand. But themselves, they don't appreciate these 2 or 3 living in the same body. And they don't want nobody else to know. And as I said, one of the people who had really used this knowledge is Hitler. The team which worked with Hitler tried and developed to find the superior race that understood this structure. And those scientists, in the time of the end of war, moved to Russia and they carried on with their work.
Multiple personality disorders, the same as
This
nymphomania.
multiple personality disorder is a condition like a matter and a plasma. It's an environmental.
Because
There
it
is no
sounds just
disorder.
like
There is no disorder. There is no disorder. It's very orderly. Part of the what we call disorder, bipolar, they call it, the new terminology for that. There is no bipolarness. You have to bring to understand, give these people a chance to live. Because if you don't give a chance, if you encage somebody, they will kick. If you keep a dog always in one cage and don't give it room to move, he'll bite when you put them. It's us who's in mistake, not them. I always said, all the mental institutes, with all their what they call schizophrenic, and all the diagnosis with nympho, have to be let free, understand who they are, and society accept. You go to the bus stop, the guy, a nice person standing there. What do? He laughs. Because now he's actually talking because they can hear each other. And then what do you say? Guy's a crazy guy. He's a schizophrenic. No, approach him, say, my name is Mark, or whatever. And what is your name? What is your brother's name? Can we talk? You'll find out. They talk to you, introduce him, you can have a laugh, and he says, why are you laughing? Oh, this is what I jacked, this is what I joke I said. The problem is us, not them. The problem is us, who's always said is too materialistic. Everything we don't see, we don't believe. Do you need to make system for a schizophrenic? I prefer to make a system for a single-born child than a schizophrenic, because that's not a disease. This is a path of birth. Our ancestors chose to guarantee that us as human race are here. Actually, this indicates somebody down the line in our ancestors was left alone. He had to fight to survive on his own. The same with here. This comes from tribal difference. I explained this before. If you are one man, the rest of the women in the tribe has been taken for captivity, whatever, you're the only woman with 4 men in the village, and everybody wants to have a wife, what do? They do it in Nepal. You share. You don't know what in Nepal the woman does when husband number 1 comes, how she behaves, and how she behaves for number 2. In Nepal, you know what happens. Women are allowed to have 2 or 3 husbands because they are shippers, they're herders. They go to the mountain, the snow can take them. When a man comes home, there is nobody, there are no herds next to the house. It means the house is free. I come in, I don't like olive salted, and I don't like meat. I'm a fish eater. It's one woman. What does it do? You're here, I make you fish. I make you something else. Now, the other one comes 6 months later. He likes beef and a steak only. She can't give him the meat, the fish and the olive. She cooks for him. And when somewhere down the line, in our tribal life, early life, when we had one woman and many men have to share, woman has changed the facility. He likes this way of making love. He likes this way of making love. So she changes to please, and it's become part of the DNA. It's become part of the RNA, and now we call them disease because we don't understand the history of our own creation. Denial of what we don't understand, we call it a sickness. They stayed alive to guarantee our survival. How can we blame them to be sick? The sick is us, doesn't understand the condition. You bring any schizophrenic on the table that you haven't doped enough with medicine to change the brain, to damage the brain, at the early stages, when it's diagnosed, it's the stupidity of psychologists. I always say, Put the psychologists in the mental institute and leave the people, the nice people, out. Then they live. What do? They pump them with chemicals. They destroy the brain. What do you expect? You already damaged the car. You don't want it to go with the speed of light when you damage the brakes and everything else, do you? So if we put the psychologist in the mental institute and bring the what you call the schizophrenic and nymphos and respect them for what they are, the society will be perfect. You don't get 16,000 families a year suffering from suicide or what we made a mistake, not them. Respect them, honor them, love them as they are because you created them. Then you find out the society is different. What do you do as a mother? What do you do as a mother? My son is a genius. He's got first-class honor in physics. Aren't you proud that my child is genius because it's two of them, they know more. Not only in physics, but in biology too. It's the shame of creation which forced us this condition. There are amongst us 0.207% of the population because it means it's happened so much to us in the past, this condition, that it has a state in our genes that if it happens, we can regenerate. These are the insurance policies of the human race in space. These are the insurance policies of us that we can create multi-cover structures that we don't become mono. If we all have the same child, we see in the Jewish and a lot of other things, intermarriage, the same genes, what have the God done? Has given us a diversity. We have to thank them, respect them, and shaming them. The problem is us, not them. You test them, you take the brain scan. Now, as we spoke this morning, you have the structure of plasma reactors that you don't use X-rays. You can see the whole plasma condition of the body. You will appreciate the brain in three structures. You will see that for the first time, you have a chance to appreciate how much wrong we done, how many people we put in the coffin, how many families have suffered for no reason, for our own stupidity. You can call them. I want to see you, John. You get responsible, John. I want Jack. You get responsible, Jack. You get the wrong answer by the voice. I don't want to speak to John. John, go away. I want to speak. I'm talking to Jack. How come when you have twins, you do it? How come when you have two sons of different age, you do it? There's no difference. It's us who's got to accept our own misjudgment. And if we admit to it, we can live a perfect life. And in fact, without this mutation, there'll be no future for man in a space when the last man is standing. And if we understand this, we study it more in detail, and we have more respect for these people, for their intelligence, for their understanding, for their emotion. Then we'll have a better life. You see this with always Eastern Bloc, Russian structure. Europeans and Americans have not understood this fully yet. You get geniuses out of them, absolute geniuses. I've had the pleasure of knowing many of them. They tell you a lot of things. They open your eyes to a lot of things which us as humans are not aware of. What do we do? The same here. What do we do? Why do we classify them as one? Why do you see the point of contact? Because with somebody like me who speaks openly, they find point of trust. We can trust him. He knows we won't get ridiculed. We can talk. It's easy. We will not be. Both Jack and John will be respected. And then it's my job to explain to the parents what you have in your hand. And what's the first reaction? They pull their hair. Oh, this is not impossible. What crime has I done that God has given me this? What a good thing you've done in your life that God has given you such a beautiful thing. Because without this last man standing in the space who can convert to carry both man and a woman, there would have been none of you here. Zero. Because somewhere down the line, we came from this. That's why schizophrenic comes in all families, because it's part of our DNA. It's part of our genes. Who are we right? Where do have been given right to deny the people who saved the humanity at a point somewhere? Don't forget how you divided as a human race. This comes out of lack of your knowledge. You were a tribe of 20, 30 people. You went. A conflict. 10 went that way, 10 went that way. They became 20, 10 went that way, and 10 went that way. This 10 was the problem. Can you hear us? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Mr. Keshe. Just the screen is frozen, at least for me right now, the video.
So what happened is not all of these expanded to increase. One lot went to China, one lot to the others. In a conflict, one went out. Out of the 10, one survived. It never made it back up. It had to exist. It had to survive. It's happened to us many times, even at the present time. One survived out of a lot. Nowadays, we have aircrafts, we have things, we go and find them. What happened to the one who got lost? In their 20s, in their 30s, they want to live. They're still healthy. They don't kill themselves because the last one. So they came to mutate to create the second one, the third one, the fourth one. And somewhere down the line, we met back again. Some of us, due to our animal behavior, killed all the ones from here except one woman. That's all the world has been about animals and women, because we treated man, a woman, and a cow exactly the same. Well, both give milk. That's all the man looks at. That's all the man, the woman worth. One gives milk and one gives pleasure. You never had people taking men with them as a slave. When in the olden age, when they were attacked, they took all the women. And they took the nice ones. Not the, we call it the ugly ones. And so here, there is one ugly woman left behind with 20 men who were scared coming back from the wood and found one woman. She had to please. She found a way, and through it, we gave life to the generation. And then we met again somewhere else. So these people, when you see these carry the original gene of man who found the way of survival. Leave it to me. I take only schizophrenic and nymphos to space. Because they know, they have it in their genes, they can evolve. For you, you have to learn to evolve. It's already in their genes. This is something which has not been understood. We accept the evolution, or we'll kill ourselves in a space with no evolution, because it'll be last one standing. What's the use of taking man out of the planet, for it because of getting destroyed, and letting them destroy themselves in a space? I rely 80% on what is amongst us that they will carry, and here. Because, funny enough, if it comes to the point of no man, one of these can behave as Jack and create birth. Because as they change the texture, you change one thing. Now, absolute perfect virgin birth. Where do you think the term has come from? especially if the condition of the twin was one boy and one girl. They don't need anything else. They are in it. And 20–30% of what they call 0–3% are exactly like you see twins. All the twins are not all boys, and all the twins are not girls. You have a twin boy and a girl. Now you have it in the same body. And if the body carries a womb, then the jackpot, 100%, you survive a space. Because you already have all the facilities. There is no other need for mutation. And this is what you're going to face in the space. I told you, we open the door, even though it's shameful to you, you're killing people. In fact, most of the psychologists who put a schizophrenic in a mental hospital, they have to be sentenced for murder. Because it's them who failed them, not anything else. Because it's him who passed the judgment. I've told this to so many psychologists. It's you who is carrying the sentence of death. When one of your patients you mark as a schizophrenic because your lack of understanding commit suicide or kill somebody else and then commit suicide, you are responsible. If the psychologists understand this, they never call anybody schizophrenic. The minute they see, they greet them. Sit down, let's talk. See what it is. I explain to the society, we have a gorgeous guy with us. When you don't trap it to show itself, it doesn't kill because now it's respected. You don't respect the Muslims, you put them in a trap, you put them in Palestine, you bomb them to death. What do you get? The new terrorist organization sitting killing like mad. Because you confine them, you did not respect their existence. It's the same in the single body. What do you want it to do when you deny another man? Just because you want to accept one man. Why I teach this today? Because now you're getting close to space travel. You're getting closer. Now we saw the first time people showing energy in a different way. On Thursday we see a different method of energy. What's going to happen in the space? You travel. Sooner or later, we take to the wing, into space. We will treasure these as gold. We ask, can we have somebody which is confirmed as schizophrenic? And we prefer it if it's a girl. And we prefer it more if it's boy and a girl. You're not going to space. No. You're staying behind. You had a client. No problem. No, they become horrible because you don't respect them. Yes, they can't do because they can't accept. To them is a shame. You're proud. Why do you? Yeah, but why do we have mental institute? You think all the 16,000 who killed themselves are British, European, or Chinese? A large number is in America. It's across the generation, across the platform. Because we are a mixed race. We have come through, irrespective of what we call our colors, blue eye, brown, whatever, we all came from one point of interaction somewhere which the condition was right. This puts a lot of question. Are we from the same mother because we say our DNA is the same? No way. Now that we have opened the plasma technology and we're seeing how even today the guy created amino acid and without drinking it, using it as powder without drinking it, put in a container. If the condition is right, we all, if there were the right legs around the world, is so many of us. We have the same common denominator genes because we come through the same process in the same area. There is a big question mark of we came from one mother. We came from one mother, and that is planet Earth, the cradle. Because the amino acid is the same. You're producing it. If the condition is right, this is what I tell you in the teachings. You give me the soul, I make the man anywhere I like in the space. Doesn't matter what you do, the creation on this planet leads to the structure of the man today. There is no water, dry land, never ever been any life. It rains, it becomes a pond, it becomes a lake. What do you see first thing in it? Fishes. Where did they come from? The same condition of amino acid rotation gives the same structure. There is no guarantee that the human race is of one mother now that we understand the totality. But why do we blame the ones who guarantee the survival of the race? Where did it come? Why do we fight for what is our misunderstanding? If it doesn't fit in, it's an enemy. Or we don't fit in, we are their enemy, not them our enemy. Because we drive them to the point of suicide at 16,000 a year. So it's a lot of them. Because this is how it sits in every one of our DNAs. If any one of us become the last man standing, we have to go to become one of them to guarantee we have somebody to talk to, we have this, and if we stay alive over 25 years, according to our RNA spelling, my God, we will produce all the schizophrenic family. Because now it's not 2 of us, it's 4 of us, it's easier, it's 6 of us. You look after the fishing, I look after the children. You look after the farm, I look after. Each one makes his own expertise. Now we have a society, we collect them in one place. I wonder what the White House has to say about their advisor. If the schizophrenic is such a bad thing, why does the White House keep the schizophrenic as advisor to the president? Are we fools or have we been made fool of? A lot of schizophrenics who've been appreciated by the parents, they are taught how to behave outside. And you find out they behave very normal outside. Inside, they treat them like two. Very few parents I've seen who understand this and they realize all the anger goes in the house. All the fighting in the house is finished. All the discussions in the house finished because Jack always tries to confirm I exist too. Now we respect you, we acknowledge your existence. You don't need to fight anymore. You're disarmed. So you find peace in the family. Because now Jack wants black shoes, John wants brown shoes. Today, John, you had your shoe. We have money to buy 1 pair of black. There's Jack's. You do the same thing with your children if you have 2 or 3. Now learn to do it with one body. The same. When you have these conditions, highly intellectual people as nymphos, if you were Russian intelligence, you look for them. They're worth a lot of money. If you get them at the age of 17 to 22. If you catch this structure and you see it around age of 17 to 22, you can ingrain in their body very easy. Nobody ever knows. Extremely delicate, extremely beautiful, they choose them. They have been made one of the best interactions, but extremely, extremely intelligent because each one is interested in different topics, in different lines. Medicine, herbal, alternative medicine. They cover everything. And they're all, without a fail, trying to find a solution because they themselves are not aware of their division in a way to have a normal life. They see it as a disease, but they don't appreciate it as a diversion in the society, the structure of the man. So what do we do? we put more into bed to die? Or do we change our own ignorance? As I said once, and I say it again, if you understand it. What did we do with the first man who said the earth is not flat and is not the center of the universe? What did the church do to it? Come on, you're man enough. We hung him. Yeah? They did all sorts of things. When there became more of them, they gave up on burning because it started making sense. Too many people. How many people you burn? Now, what are you going to do with the schizophrenic now that you know who they are? You're going to hang me? Or are you going to burn me? Or you put me in the asylum and say he's a lunatic? This is what the Belgian government is trying to do, to bring my health as a point of crookedness and interfering with medicine. I don't interfere with medicine. I open the psychology of man. Psychologists are never criminals because we don't touch them. So, what is going on? The criminal is the guy who tries to hide it, because with that, he has no position. The first people, when they see this video, they'll be psychologists. They say it's crazy because now they don't have a job. I'm a specialist in schizophrenic. It means I know I have to be in, but I keep them in for me to be out. And I met many of them. British National Health is full of schizophrenic capturers, what they call psychologists. The pay is very good. In America, I don't know. In China, God. Yes, because this guy is talking this, now he's talking something else. In Europe, a doctor needs to write what they call Section 1, 28 days observation. This is a law. And the 20 days observation, you put Jack and John together, they're both angry. You see, you brought me here, I didn't do anything. If you'd have kept shut up, I wouldn't do this. So, you see, they're talking. There's something wrong with him. Section 1, 21 days, 28 days. Section 2, 6 months. Go to court. I send the doctors into court to explain I'm stupid, I don't understand. But they had a stupid little degree saying psychologist, psychiatric treatment, all has to go to the people. This is what we created out of our own ignorance. And where do these people go? Please don't write to me, ask me, can you help me? I'm a schizophrenic. Help yourself. Explain to the people, I have 2 characters. I have 3, this is me, this is what John likes, this is me, this is what I do. You ask me a question about football, I give you all the history. You ask me, John, whatever you need. Explain to them your existence. You're a nympho, do the same. Especially if you've been trained by this Russian space, what do you call it, intelligence and East European intelligence. They have infiltrated the society in the East, in the West, so deeply, we don't even recognize them. Unless you've been in my position, you know who they are. And you can see that behavior. Because they are not aware of this. You find with a condition, especially with an nympho, because do you know what the burnout is? You do something so much you had enough, you don't want it anymore. You eat so much fish that you don't want to see fish anymore. Because of this behavior at young age. Because they start very early. 10, 11, sometimes 6, 7 years old. Because when it's 3 of you, you're all activating, the hormones are all running for 3 people in one body, not one. Between the age of 35 to 45, they lose all the appetite for sexuality. And all of them, without fail, have given up. I don't want no sexual contact. I don't want anything but sexual behavior. Because from burnout, I used everything. I'm switched off. That's one of the main things in that age. What we see sometimes, pre-menopause, early stages they call it. Because I decided I had so much I don't want to do, and I don't remember what I've done, I decide to shut the system down. That's one of the first symptoms of nympho behavior in an older age when you see it. And then it comes other characteristics with it, which you read there. There is no Alzheimer's. They have no Alzheimer's. The schizophrenic and the nymphomaniacs are not Alzheimer's. No way. Because you talk to the wrong person about the story, which he was not there. This morning, what did we teach? What was the topic of this morning? Were you listening to me what we talked about this morning? Finished. Go home. What? Bone structure. Oh, good. He had to look at the paper. And you were all here. So all of you are schizophrenic or you are nymphos. Who was here this morning? Yeah. Yeah. But who was here? What did we speak about this morning? About the bone structure. Pardon? The new machines, X-ray? Okay, now you are here. We all know. Dr. Antonio, what did we speak about this morning? Explain to him. Don't send him. What did we speak about this morning? What did we teach this morning? No, today, this morning. No! So it's the same as with Mary. He wasn't here. Do you understand? How can you explain about bone when he wasn't here? She had fun. Do you know some of these nymphos can make love 3 hours in one session? They sleep out of exhaustion. And then the other one wakes up as nothing happened and starts again from the beginning. Because you slept with Mary, now you slept with Susie. Because she wasn't there. I'm exhausted, I'm dying. Dead. Wake up. Arises Susie. There we go, another 3-hour session. Yeah. We haven't understood. We can't blame him, he wasn't here. What we talked about. Even the ones who were here, you don't remember what you did. Oh my God. You don't need to defend yourself. No problem. Do you understand? Why do we blame when he wasn't there? And it's the same when they say it comes from overdose. People take a drug, they become a schizophrenic. People take do you know why? Have ever anybody understood why we see this behavior if you take drugs? No. At the point of weakness, when John is weak, he's taking drug, Jack is up. Now I have control of the body. Now I go for a walk, I see what the city looks like. I know I have to come back to this address. So I go for a ride, I go for a walk. I see, ooh, John never showed me these things. Now I'm in charge. So actually what the drug has done has put John to sleep. And Jack now has control of the body. It doesn't come because of the drug. It becomes at that time, John has taken the body for his part of the physicality, but Jack is not. Are you one?
Lost a arm, and John wake up and see that he have.
They accept it. They have no choice. It's accepted.
But there is a question: what's happened He doesn't
No,
have
no,
to.
yes, but he accepts because it's no choice. It's accepted, it's no choice.
For
There is a
different,
very, very big question mark, very good question mark in the structure of how we have learned to mutate ourselves. It means you have an arm, you get stuck under the stone, you have nowhere to go. How do you have no tools, how do you dismember your part that you can walk? You can move away from the condition. You better lose an arm and the whole body. Who does the cutting? Is it that we all have access to Jack? Because Jack uses different part of the body when it comes. Are we all schizophrenic when it comes to the point of division and threatening life? I say yes. Why? We all have that power to allow our part of our body to come off. How do we do it? How do we get energy out of nowhere? You see people walking out of a disaster. Because at that point, Jack got a physical part damage from the strength point of view, not John. It's John who pulls the Jack out because he has access to different resources than him because that's his. This is what nymphos do. Nymphos have a 3-hour session, go to sleep, tired body, another 3-hour session, tired body, and another 3-hour session. My God, she's a nympho. Yes, because you satisfy 3 different women. And they're all using different part of the body. What happens? As I said, age of 45, 35, 40, they all say, I want no more sex because I'm burnt out. I gave everything possible. And the strange enough is, they don't remember any of it. They get up, they change the bed, they clean up the house, but they don't remember anything else. And because they're so organized, they know about the failure, they carry on as talking as nothing happened. But if you're a wise man like me, you know what you're talking about. You see the handover. You see the changeover. How they change. The handover to the other. They do the same, but in a different way. The schizophrenic never hands over. They only agree when you can use the body when I'm tired. What do they do? Look at this behavior of a schizophrenic. Look at the behavior of people with nympho. High consumer of sugar. Or digesting as much as possible every drop of what they eat, because to run 2 motors, you need double the fuel. What is the fastest way you see a lot of schizophrenic do nowadays? Chocolate, cola, fast drink energy, support the brain. Because when Jack goes to sleep, John is awake. So the body is running 24 hours a day. They sleep very little. Because when John goes to sleep, his part of body is asleep. When Jack is running, this part of body is asleep. And if you don't know, they are worse. When Mary is asleep, part of John and Sue goes to sleep, and the same. I work in Eastern Bloc. I know what I'm talking about. Put it that way.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe. Should we move on to the Spanish-speaking workshop? We're 15 minutes into it.
Spanish cannot wait because there is more
Okay.
schizophrenic in Spain.
All right, that's
Men
fine.
are part of their teaching. We have more of it in Southern Hemisphere than Northern Hemisphere. South America, they say because they smoke too much dope. There's a lot of schizophrenic in other part of the world, but it stays the same. What do we do with this? How do we handle this? Do we educate people, or we keep a blanket on it because we will be odd one out? I'm the first man ever speaking about it because I have 30 years, over 30 years of understanding, studying, attending court cases to understand exactly the behavior. I'm one of the top experts in the schizophrenic and nympho. Because this is the condition when I made my decision at the age of 8, 9, and 10 to become what I learned about the space, I looked at the problems of space too. You got to, this is a condition, and we have to respect these people. Let them out of the mental institute, but before you do, educate the parents. They are not ashamed. They are jewels you have to keep. If you are happy with a first degree, first class PhD, they carry 10 PhDs. They are affectionate because they understand the emotion. They are loyal because they know loyalty gives them guarantee. They are the most cleverest people you see. What you need is one person, in 3, you have it on your own, even with this structure. You got to admire their existence, not blame them for your own ignorance. Teach, go on the lines and teach, explain to. People come to me as schizophrenic, I send them to you lot. You start respecting them, and then the society will do. You know what it is. Every schizophrenic comes to me on a Keshe Foundation or my private lines or in different ways. I send them to one of you. Start respecting them. I don't have time. You have. Ask them what's their name, which name, who they like, what they like to do. Don't laugh. Ask for explanation. They explain everything to you because nobody has listened to their pain up to now. How many of them? Which one of you is prepared to accept the first 10 I have on my book? No problem. I'll send you one tonight. The rest of you are chickens because you don't even trust your own self. Thank you very much. Because you don't even trust that you can help another man. How do you want to be helped in a space when you don't even trust yourself? Because you don't help an animal. It's another man in a space which your life depends on his existence. Because if we start opening the door, understanding it's our mistake has been for centuries, then we become true humans. Then we have made the step to stop. If one of you can stop one out of the 16,000 of 2013, which is going to repeat itself more or less with the same numbers this year, to die, you have served the purpose of ever living because you saved one life of one man. And that's where you lack humanity and you call yourself human. How do you expect another person to save your life when you don't solve the problem which you have created out of your own ignorance? Write to me. As many people with a schizophrenic, I'm getting fed up of receiving emails from a schizophrenic. Can you help me? No, I send it to a man who can listen to you, but you be honest to explain who we are talking to. No sexual behavior is taboo. No way of talking is taboo. No misconduct is taboo because you've been engaged. You have to understand. You've got to gain your trust for it to come in. And if you want, I'll bring them here. Then you see, if they can understand and they explain their pain to you, you'll be ashamed to be human. I never felt ashamed more than when I had to deal with the schizophrenic, because I knew it's not their fault, it's the lack of the society to understand the structure. So, how do you know you're not living with one of them? because they are well disguised amongst us. You said you want to see aliens. One of the human aliens is one of you in this room, most probably. How do you do? How do you handle it? How do you put another man's life ahead of yours? And this is the condition of the peace. One life out of 16,000 you save. Maybe we can teach more. Maybe we open a schizophrenic line for the people. We call them the beautiful people. No more the word of a schizophrenic, and no more the word of nympho. Because if we call them the nice people, we already established the love of God amongst ourselves in our race, then we can look after them. Then they don't need to commit suicide because we respect them. We teach them the conduct of the community. So, how many of you are schizophrenic? How many of you are going to become a schizophrenic now? You're sitting here to learn about the space. You're the last one standing. I promise you, if I put you all in one ship and send you in deep space, 100% will be what you call schizophrenic. Because you have to find somebody to talk to. You had a taste of a woman and a man. You want to transfer the pleasure of sharing. Read what they say. Parkinson. Understand the disease of Parkinson, how it comes with a schizophrenic or with nympho. What is Parkinson? Why is it always the right hand? How do the man and woman satisfy themselves sexually? Masturbation. Because you get to the point of bringing the physicality to the emotion of feeling. You imagine the physical position, you imagine the texture of a man or a woman, you imagine everything else. You bring emotion and physicality together. What do you get? Rapidity of the motion. What do you get with Parkinson? Do you want me to go in more detail to be ashamed to be human? So why do you put them? They show the sign of Parkinson. Because she does not have the need, she had enough, but still the feelings are there. What does she do? She satisfies herself. What does he do? Satisfy herself. Long-term emotion, feeling, physicality together, you get the vibration. 99% of the Parkinson people are the people who please themselves too much. But they don't do it the normal way. They do it that they are so detailed. They imagine the woman, they taste the woman, they feel the woman. And they put physicality to it. You bring me a Parkinson patient, I tell you where it started. A lot of masturbators in different directions. And if they say no, sits in the brain structure, I can show it. I've seen enough MRI of the Parkinson, I know where it goes. There it is. You short-circuited the body, there is no comparison. So, what do we do with ourselves? Because we never understood the operation of the human body. How many people the man has put into grave as mothers, as fathers, as guardians, because, and then the schizophrenics, because we haven't understood the process, natural process of life. Because you're so physical, you only look for one thing, and one thing only. If it's there, I believe it. One child, two children, twins, collected together, Siamese. What about the one, which is one body, and everything in it? So, what crime man has committed over centuries? Because schizophrenic is not something new. It's been all the time with us. It's part of the process of our living. So, what are our answers to our mistake of the past? Who's going to stand up and brings shame to the society who is too physical? To be honest, I prefer to be this than to be one of these which causes the death of this. I call myself psychiatrist, psychiatry, whatever you want to do it, because this way I blame somebody else for my own ignorance. How many people, how much? When you go into the Russian structure, you see how they train them, they appreciate them, they value them, they bring them up to the best of the levels. Is the Russian system, security services, the best place to bring up and respect man? But they use them. Most of the spies are in this one, slim, perfectly cut, highly intellectual. Even they don't know which one they are. In the West, we depress it, we don't see it, and we blame it for other things. Is there another way with this to thank another job Hitler has done for mankind? Respecting what we didn't have no respect for, and we consider it as a disease. Can we put understanding of human structure, another positive point in the time of the Second World War? Because part of the structure has understood it. If they didn't understood it, one with 9 of them wouldn't become advisor to 6 presidents. Somebody is lying to somebody somewhere. So both sides of the game understand the game. But there's nobody to defend them, to bring them out, to say, we are stupid, not them. And then, how many of the Keshe Foundation supporters are prepared? Now they know what it is, to understand them, to bring them out, and make them one of the public. As I said, 20 years ago, if you were in a wheelchair in Tehran, if you had, what do you call it, paraplegic, if you had Down syndrome, nobody would have seen you on the street. Impossible. It was a curse of the life. Still in the Arab countries the same. Now we put them on the pushchair. We bring them out because why? Not the society accepted. Because now we are caring. We want to show we are very good. It's our self-satisfaction which will bring them out, not them wanting to be out. When you push a chair, you see, I'm good. I look after people. I love, I adore the way the Italian system works. In the other European countries, we open mental institute, handicapped schools on the block. In Italy, till the age of 11, doesn't matter what disorder you have, you attend the normal school as the rest. Correct? Because somehow you find your way in. This is one of the beautiful things I've learned being in Italy. Respect for humanity, a respect of the condition of mentality. Handicapped, mentally handicapped, whatever, you still come through the process because somewhere down the line you learn something. Nowhere in the world do what they do. And it's beautiful because I take my son to school. Every school we've been, we see them. It's a beautiful technician. Technocrats have found a beautiful way. Each classroom is allowed 25 to 27 students per classroom. This is the structure here. If you have 2 handicapped, they count as 2. So that's 4. In the classroom is 23 people. Because the time of the teacher has put on to allow 2 additional students for that student. Am I correct? Because they have found the respect for humanity. This is maybe something we can learn from the Italians. And if we do this, why can't we do to the ones which already have educated so high? So what do? What is the option of humanity? We allow, now that we know, more to kill themselves? Or do we make a step to make the change? And to show the change. And to be able to support the structure to show mankind has made enough mistakes to put so many thousand into coffin. Because I don't have enough time to even do things. How can I answer to thousands of schizophrenic who write? Or the nymphos who live around me? Because the way you attract, people know, they trust, they come. Because you'll have respect for me, I have respect for you. They have every kind of behavior as everybody other child does. You can't blame them just because they're schizophrenic, they behave this way. You have 2 boys, 3 boys in the family, each one of them bring their own headaches. Why do you blame it when he's in one body? It's his problem. No, because there you handle John different, you handle Jack different because they were in 2 different bodies. Now you have 2 in one body. Respect them the same. What are we going to do? If we don't solve this problem, there is a full stop, totally no movement in the structure of man into space. Because we cannot even trust our own being. What are we going to do? Are we going to start teaching? Is this part of the roadmap for peace? Because roadmap for peace is not just with the guns stopping the wars. Stop one single person to suffer, that is peace at itself. You don't need to write the government. Choose what you call a schizophrenic, adore him, worship him, teach him, respect his characters, what you call it, and then you start a peace. Because as long as he's in war with himself, inside himself, he's going to kill somebody. We haven't achieved this. There is no way we can have peace on this planet till we respect our own creation and our own same similar creatures. So, are we going to accept this? Are we going to accept this? And are we going to teach ourselves we made a mistake? We have made a huge mistake in respect to another human being. Then we have to see where we're going to go. Then do we selectively choose this and this to be one of the passengers? They will have value on their head. You will size transport, ship to planet Zeus, leaving Friday. The schizophrenic and nymphos have priority because if anything happens on the way to Zeus, we have a guarantee of survival. Or do we make a commodity out of them? Everyone says, I am a schizophrenic. I want to be a schizophrenic because I get the special facilities. Then we all become a schizophrenic. We don't know which one is the doctor inside. I have had this fight for a long time with the doctors, even with the institutions. Why do we do it? They said to me, you don't understand. Now I'm in a position I can make the difference. I can bring it out. It's the same of Stephen Hawking. When Stephen Hawking stole my paper and he changed his mind in 2004, I went to see Mr. English in Cambridge. He said, you know something? You are not a known scientist. He's very well known. He will get away with it. One day, if you are known, then you can open his hand. Mr. Stephen Hawking is the fan, as we say, shit did. Because now I can put it out on the paper in a book, and 3 years he hasn't managed to squeak yet because he knows he's a thief. Now, because of my research, I'm in a position to bring this in public. As if you go on the Facebook, put Mrfixitrick Keshe, what does it come up? Public figure. As a public figure, I am allowed to bring the pain of the society in public. As an international public figure, I know my position, I can do this. And we have to listen to what we are doing as a murderers. We are killing 16,000, not them killing themselves. Because this is how we have escaped facing the reality. You invite the psychologists as many as you like. In a new building, we don't need to wait for them to tell us when we can have a meeting. We have the most beautiful 100-seater translator. He doesn't need to sit here and translate. In a new building we go, it's a cubicle with 4-channel translation. You call the psychologist, you call everybody who's specialized in any language. With the schizophrenic, in half an hour, I show them that they put the degrees down and they walk out. Because, do you know why? They realize how many people they have put into coffin. They'll be ashamed of the degree they carried. Because we made a mistake, it's time to put it right. Because if you don't put it right, you call a guy schizophrenic on board of a plane, on a board of a ship. You put a nympho with 4 men. They all want to possess. They don't appreciate, okay, each one of us has a Mary Julie or whatever. Then you have no peace. Your peace starts, the war starts before you even get on. Because you haven't understood the condition. This is one of the most important cornerstones of road map for peace. Not just the guns. Not just stopping working in the factories to make bullets, but to stop the bullets to get in the body of these people to commit suicide. That's your job. How many of you around the world will come collectively start understanding them? Do you know what's going to happen? 7 billion. That is the number of beings on this planet, human race. 0.7. That is 1% of this is that much. And put 0.4%, 49. There's 490 million schizophrenic and nymphos amongst us. One percent of the population. Near enough. Don't forget, the statistic does not count in Africa, in the jungles, and the rest which exist there as well. So, out of 7 billion of us, 1% has the beautiful body to be a beautiful person. And then, if that's the case, you have plus 1% plus another 1%. So, in fact, we are not 7 billion. We are 7 billion 70 million people, plus some of them have 2 or 3 characters. Would you like to kill one if it was your child? Yeah. You're a mother. You're a mother. Would you like, if your son diagnoses as schizophrenic, to put in the institute if you know this? Or would you sit down and say, explain to me, today I'll go out with John, tomorrow I'll go out with Jack? Which way do you choose? The child in the coffin, or you accepting your own right? So every other mother, every other mother, every other father. So why don't we start to bring peace? Not just by learning Spanish or finding to prove what we found a solution. We have to find a solution for this. Otherwise, there is no peace for man. Space will be empty if we don't find peace for these 2 structures. It's part of us. We can't ignore it. What do? Do we open what Hitler did, a gas chamber, and put them all in because of our ignorance? Or do we put ourselves in the gas chamber and let them live because they stand a better chance to carry our race into space? Would you step down going to planet Zeus for a schizophrenic or a nympho? I will. I give my place to any of them because I don't know if I turn a schizophrenic, if I will be able to have enough time to mutate to guarantee the survival. But these two stand a better chance because this is already mutated. In some of these, you see the behavior of a man in the body of the most beautiful woman. This stands 100% chance of having what you call virgin birth. The same with this. My life is not worth it because at that point in the space, I can't do anything. I've got to wait till I die. This one can produce. Which way do we go? Or selfishness? We stay king because we would like to be told the king? Or do we pass? We are mature enough to pass the point of accepting the truth and the reality which we ignored. That's why none of the chemicals, none of the psychological medicine they ever created work on these people. Because it's not a disease, it's a reality of the fact. If it was a disease, they would have found enough chemicals to do something. What do? They pump them with more medicine, trying to prove they understand something wrong. Stop the medicine. Accept the reality and do it yourself. And then what happened? It's done. We had a patient, 30 years, because of epilepsy and abuse of medicine, according to her own private doctor, has been given over 100,000 tablets, directed only to work on the brain, to stop her having a epileptic attack, which another side effect lead to another thing, and another attack lead to another thing. This girl, 19 to 20 tablets a day. Given. And the side effect of these tablets was horrendous. Even with these 19 to 20, she was having 3 to 5 epileptic attacks. They were not working. Because now they started it, they were giving more medicine to start the side effect of the other medicine. 4 months. No medicine, no attack. That's the power of this technology. And this is what the Belgian government is trying to get me. You practice medicine. Nothing. I gave life back to a person. And the beauty of this, the professors in the hospital confirm the correctness. And do you know what the private doctor says to us? The chemist has made 2 villas out of the money the family has paid and the insurance company has paid for medication. Some of the medicines, 40 euro per tablet. You think the chemist is not going to call me a crook? Because now he doesn't have 2 villas. But the girl, back to work. But the family had to take her down because she was worth a few million. If she was put in the mental institute, they had money.
Mr. Keshe, there's a comment in the chat here that is applicable. It's from Tracy that says, wow, felt like you were talking directly to me today. Thank you. You just saved my life. And the next comment from her, sign me up for a ship.
No problem. Welcome. Depends what's your other name. Ask her. Write to her. What's your other name?
Well, I'm sure she's listening. She can comment in the
What's
chat
your
here.
other name you hide, if you are one, because I can catch frauders. You can, any of you call yourself a schizophrenic. I know how to catch you. What's your other name? What's your problem? Why don't they accept you? Or are you the nympho? Still, what's the other names?
Well, Tracy, we'll leave it up to you to reply.
You can write it to my private email. I'll take up your case, because once you admit to it, you understand that there is no problem. And we give you two. Would you like to be? Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. I know. Sandy from USA is accepting to take up your case. To make a new friend with two friends, not with one. Correct? Now we start somewhere. This is how we have to work. Unconditional love brings unconditional love. And if you're not at peace with ourselves, we can't do it anywhere else. And there are a number of nymphos who know who I'm talking to. Open your book or open your life for you. Because how life is. We have to accept the reality, not enforce the imagination. And up to now, we imagine because we couldn't accept the reality. Now we know the reality, we have to do something about it. We have to make the change. We have to stand in a position that we can make it. It doesn't come by the energy. It doesn't come by showing a light on the wrist. It doesn't come by going to stars or having free energy. You free a man from the shackles of this name, you have produced more energy in the universe than ever. 18, what do you call it? Hiroshima bomb in the body of a man. So how much energy do you want to release? Where are we going to go? Are we going to open this door in public, or are we going to shame, put it away, nothing to do with it? I think one of the works of the Keshe Foundation is not to send the peace message to everywhere, but send the word we accept. Nice people as one of us, because they guarantee our survival in this place. We make peace with our own mistakes of our own past. Then we are maybe ready to go another step towards this place.
Mr. Keshe, Tracy says she couldn't open the chat, although I think we hear her microphone. She says, I have MS now. My name is Eileen, too. I had MS. I think it was me trying to kill myself, she says.
To speak to Sandy, open the line, let her speak to. And then you find out. If you are big enough, come in. You can discuss it. Let people see how beautiful you people are. Not a bunch of people who we put so much chemicals in that your body cannot tolerate, and then you behave because of the chemicals, because it makes pharmaceuticals look good. More pharmaceuticals companies have put more people in coffin because of the title of a schizophrenic, because the directors of the pharmaceuticals are people who are ignorant to the truth, and they make money out of it. You know the news story about Boeing. Boeing, when they were in financial crisis, then they found out how many private jets they had built only for their directors. You had a director, you're given a private jet. When they start cutting, they found out, get rid of the private jets, half of the problem in the company is solved. So how many of these so-called psychologists, psychiatric treatment doctors, you're prepared to take their jumbo jets away from them and free the man from the shackles of what we made for them? So till we don't find this, this is a cornerstone of peace. Because if this guy shows his partner, and if this guy shows Susie and Chris to you in a space, surely you're not going to stand it. Because You're trying to protect your man, but you don't know that's your salvage in space. You don't need to carry engineer and a doctor. You carry all two in one. So I think is one of the points we have to teach ourselves, and that is, do we carry on with this stupidity of naming, or do we start acting to change the name? And one way or another, we have to understand that peace comes when we accept the totality, not isolating individuals or sections as part of it. So this is part of your peace roadmap. You thought the road is going to be very smooth. You're going to be fighting the governments and the military. Now the biggest fight sits inside you with yourself. Would you let another single man kill himself on the name of the mistakes you are aware of now? Or are you going out to educate that you can save a single life? I prefer to sort this out and send more men to space. Because in the space you don't have no chance of survival because they have already mutated. You stand a good chance if you can take them and understand. Thank you very much. It's nearly 6 o'clock. The Spanish people will have a time next week. Sorry about the Spanish group, but you have a lot of them in the Spanish community and in South America. So we call it a day, and we'll see each other tomorrow morning. Thank you indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so the health workshop went a little longer than anticipated, and our Spanish workshop will be canceled for today. And so ends the 33rd health teaching workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and it's the end of the day, Tuesday, June 9th, 2015. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Make it bigger.
Yes. Okay. Can you read it for us, please?
Okay. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder often characterized by abnormal social behavior and failure to recognize what is real. Common symptoms include false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, auditory hallucinations, reduced social engagement and emotional expression, and lack of motivation. Diagnosis is based on observed behavior and the person's reported experiences. Genetics and early environment, as well as psychological and social processes, appear to be important contributory factors. Some recreational and prescription drugs appear to cause or worsen symptoms. The many possible combinations of symptoms have triggered debate about whether the diagnosis represents a single disorder or a number of separate syndromes. Despite the origin of the term from Greek schizein, meaning to split, and phren, to meaning mind, schizophrenia does not imply a split personality or multiple personality disorder, a condition with which it is often confused in public perception. Rather, the term means a splitting of mental functions, reflecting the presentation of the illness. The mainstay of treatment is antipsychotic medication, which primarily suppresses dopamine receptor activity. Counseling, job training, and social rehabilitation are also important in treatment. In more serious cases where there is risk to self or others, involuntary hospitalization may be necessary, although hospital stays are now shorter and less frequent than they once were. Symptoms begin typically in young adulthood, and about 0.3 to 0.7% of people are affected during their lifetime. The disorder is thought to mainly affect the ability to think, but it is also usually contributes to chronic problems with behavior and emotion. People with schizophrenia are likely to have additional conditions, including major depression and anxiety disorders. The lifetime occurrence of substance use disorder is almost 50%. Social problems such as long-term unemployment, poverty, and homelessness are common. The average life expectancy of people with the disorder is 10 to 25 years less than the average life expectancy. This is the result of increased physical health problems and a higher suicide rate, about 5%. In 2013, an estimated 16,000 people died from behavior related to or caused by schizophrenia. Would you like to go ahead there now?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to the afternoon health workshop, which we hold every week. We are quite a bit late due to technical reasons, but at least we are back here. Somehow it's become tradition to have problem with the health section. Every week, most of the week, somehow something goes wrong. Maybe because we are not very healthy people. So we start. Exactly. I think we're a bunch of old people pretending to be young. And the system is trying to tell us, no way. Today's teaching or discussions or workshop is that we spoke about the body. We tried to speak in general in other matters. From now on, we try to concentrate on conditions per condition. And today's condition or the structure is what I've received a lot of emails, and in the past few weeks it got worse. In the past few days, I've seen a number of emails which is sent to me asking a member of the family has this problem, or a member of the family has been with this problem for a long time, or a friend, can we help? The teaching of today is about the schizophrenic and the same kind of condition as what we call nymphomania. There is no difference between the two. It's the same disease, but different structure of the body. Is it a disease? No. I call people with schizophrenic, what we call with the schizophrenic in public, or what we call with nymphomaniac, as the nice people. Why? The reason for it is I have a deep understanding and well educated in this field, extremely specialized in understanding how this condition works. The reason for one of is that in a space, these kind of what I call life is a normal life. Man has mutated to be, but we have a problem as people not to see. Let me explain what does this mean. First of all, let's ask Rick. Rick, can you put up what Wikipedia says nymphomaniac or what we call a schizophrenic means? What is the common present science? Consider that. Can you read it for us, please?
Okay, I've got schizophrenia up first here.
We need it to be enlarged a little bit because it's all blurred, or I'm getting too old to read.
Okay, I'll try to read you.
Can you read about nymphomaniac, if you got it back there, please?
Okay, get that lined up. Now, when I go to nymphomaniac in Wikipedia, it refers to what's called hypersexuality. It redirects to hypersex from nymphomaniac. So hypersexuality is a clinical diagnosis used by mental health care researchers and providers to describe extremely frequent or suddenly increased sexual urges or sexual activity.
Can you enlarge the screen? We don't see it.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, in the overview, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines hypersexual as, quote, exhibiting unusual or excessive concern with or indulgence in a sexual activity, unquote. Sexologists have been using the term hypersexuality since the late 1800s, when Krafft-Ebing described several cases of extreme sexual behaviors in his seminal 1886 book, Psychopathia Sexualis. The author used the term hypersexuality to describe conditions that would now be termed premature ejaculation. Hypersexuality may be a primary condition or the symptom of another medical disease or condition, for example, Kluver-Bucy syndrome or bipolar disorder. Hypersexuality may also present as a side effect of medication, such as drugs used to treat Parkinson's disease. Clinicians have yet to reach a consensus over how best to describe hypersexuality as a primary condition, or to determine the appropriateness of describing such such behaviors and impulses as a separate pathology. Some authors have questioned whether it makes sense to discuss hypersexuality at all, arguing that labeling sexual urges extreme merely stigmatizes people who do not conform to the norms of their culture or peer group. Hypersexual behaviors are viewed variously by clinicians and therapists as an addiction, a type of obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, or OCD spectrum disorder, or a disorder of impulsivity. A number of authors do not acknowledge such a pathology.
Can you go to the symptoms, please?
Okay. As a symptom, hypersexuality is known to present itself as a symptom in connection to a number of mental and neurological disorders. Some people with
master programs for undergraduate degree students and one-year executive master programs for graduate degree students in the following fields: space transportation, new plasma technology, health, agriculture, materials, energy. The health section is designed to make students able to live in space without the need to return to Earth. To this end, the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute has found processes for many diseases including ALS, cancer, coma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will offer online teaching courses which will enable anyone, anywhere around the world to enroll and increase their knowledge and understanding. Students will have the opportunity to direct their work towards commercial spin-offs and seek funding through the help of the Keshe Foundation. The access to the new science and new technologies is openly available for peaceful use to the benefit of mankind to make a better world today. Now you can be part of the changing world and the new knowledge. All commercial spin-offs are intended to be open source and patent-free. This is part of the core ethos of the Keshe Foundation and the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will have its official inauguration on April 21st, 2015, with courses commencing soon after on May 4th, 2015. The students of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be the leaders of the future who will make changes in all areas of space technology, science, medicine, agriculture, and energy. Anyone is able to apply, but acceptance is through invitation only. No prerequisites are required. We will be accepting approximately 250 students for the 3-year Executive Master's Program and 120 students for the 1-year Executive Master's Program. We welcome humanity's participation in the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Where does humanity go from here? That is up to you. Apply today.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Now we can enter into the 33rd Health Teaching Workshop. I see there's Mr. Keshe is just getting ready. Has his Leonardo da Vinci tie on today. And we have a couple of Wikipedia screens ready to go when you're ready there, Mr. Keshe. Okay, it's the 33rd Health Teaching Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and it's Tuesday, June 9th, 2015. And we're ready to begin with our Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute promotional video in English with subtitles.
Where does humanity go from here? What have we tried to do? What if there is more, much more? The Keshe Foundation is proud to announce a new way to bring humanity forward through technology that brings humanity in line with the natural operation of the planet and universe itself. The new science and technology discovered and developed by the nuclear engineer Keshe centers upon the use and control of magnetical gravitational fields. This new body of knowledge opens the road to hundreds of potential applications, which offer solutions to most of the fundamental problems of the world, such as water, food, environmental contamination, and shortages of energy. The Keshe Foundation is proud to unveil the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Nestled amidst the beautiful shores of Bari, Italy, the Institute is poised to become a central hub in the spreading of plasma technology and knowledge. With its state-of-the-art 21st century facilities, the Institute will be able to provide students and staff an immersive way to learn the plasma technology, to be the leaders of the new generation of scientists and plasma engineers. The Keshe Foundation has opened the door to the world for peaceful usage of technology that is independent of the limited resources that are available on Earth. This is an understanding of how everything works together in harmony in our universe, and it applies to everything from the smallest to the biggest, from atoms to galaxies. We all are able to collectively work together in pursuit of knowledge, innovation, and solutions for our society. This learning environment is new to the world, where there will be no test to confirm your understanding. The knowledge of everyone will be respected and allowed to flourish in a nurturing environment. Hands-on testing and experimenting will be widely used in conjunction with roundtable discussions to bring all opinions and knowledge forward. Students will be introduced to a change in the ethos of working in collaboration. Students will experience firsthand how we share knowledge in a free and open manner. Graduating students are expected to share the knowledge they gain from the university within their respective communities and nations. All formal teachings, lectures, and presentations will be in the English language, with technology available for immediate translation. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute will be offering 3-year executive